Hey guys, it's Greg with By the Bootstraps, btbootstraps.com. I'm making this video today because a couple weeks ago I made a video about how gender doesn't define a good parent. And I got a message from someone who wanted me to kind of talk to him about like my situation and what's going on, and his situation, what's going on. I won't name names, I won't say who it is. I wouldn't do that. But I told the guy, I said, I'll tell you what, man, I'll make a video kind of explaining what's happened with me. And then, if you want to watch it, wonderful. Because I figure, if this dude's got questions, maybe other people have some questions too. So this is more of a personal story for me to share, with you guys. If you want to watch it, great, wonderful. Subscribe to the video, subscribe to the channel. That'd be awesome. If you don't want to hear that kind of stuff, then don't worry about it. Just move along, and I'll see you at the next video, okay? Anyway, I met a woman after I got out of the military and got divorced from my first wife. And we got together. We only knew each other for a short period of time. And in that time frame, she got pregnant. We were using protection at the time, but things happened. And, we really didn't get along that well to begin with. I mean, it was kind of like one of those bounce back relationships, but, after she got pregnant, we tried to make things work. Now, at the time, I just gone through a divorce. One of my best friends had committed suicide. I was kind of in a bad place, and so I had turned to alcohol as a coping mechanism, which bad on my part. And I'm going to make an entire video coming up here soon with my buddy from Utah about different subjects pertaining to those people in the military, such as, the suicide rate, alcoholism, the divorce rate, and stuff like that. And they're all going to be about how to help each other. All right, so I mean, keep an eye out for those because they'll be dropping here hopefully in the next couple months. And I'm hoping to have some discussions on that, to help out people, because I wish I would have reached out to someone at the time. But anyway, I was in a dark place. I had turned to the bottle essentially to cope with my issues, and in that process, I'd gotten in trouble with the law. In fact, I got 2 DUIs pretty much back to back. I don't blame anyone. I don't try to make excuses for it. It was my fault. It was my stupidity, and I paid a very high consequence for it because of that. And, so I don't begrudge anyone or anything like that, and I don't try to blame anyone or anything like that. I totally blame myself and take all responsibility for that. But in the process of that happening too, I met this woman. We got involved. We ended up getting pregnant, and we ended up having a child. At that time, I was drinking a lot, and we were fighting a lot. But also though, she was doing a lot of drugs, primarily marijuana. And she was actually even smoking marijuana when she was pregnant, which I found out about and went ballistic on because of not knowing the consequences of what could happen to the child, to the baby, developing, things like that. And, we were both guilty of our own wrongs. And I think the difference is that, I accept responsibility for my behaviors and actions, and she unfortunately does not, and still to this day does not. But either way, we tried to work out our differences. We separated for a period of time. She came back out of desperation, which I thought at the time, like, hey, she's, coming back because we're going to try and work on a relationship. We started going to counseling, and after that, I had proposed to her because in my mind, that was the right thing to do. We now had a daughter, and we needed to work together to do what was best for the child. Now, it didn't work out. She accepted the proposal. I gave her a ring, and then, while we were going to counseling, trying to work out our differences, she, out of the blue, after like 9 months of being together again, just out of the blue, says that she doesn't want to go forward, she doesn't want to proceed, and was going to move out. To which I said, okay, fine. I can't control you, and I don't want to. That's not my responsibility, and I don't want to be, I don't want to be that person. But I did ask her, what's your plan? What are you going to do? And so trying to work with her, my family and I tried to give her every opportunity in the world to better her life before making this decision of leaving. You know, to include, hey, you can, you know, sleep in my bed. I'll sleep on the couch, okay? If it will give you the opportunity to get a full-time job or go back to school and get a 2-year degree, whatever you need to do to set yourself up to the best level of success that you can possibly do. You know, she said, no, I'm out. I said, okay, that's cool. But then I found out she was living out of her car with the baby at the time. And so I took the baby, essentially. I didn't like force the baby out of her hands, but you know, I just told her, I said, you're not taking this child and living in your car with this baby. Now at the time, it was like October in Minnesota, all right? For all you people who are not familiar with Minnesota, I mean, it gets cold in October. We're talking like freezing, snowing in October. And it only gets colder from there. I mean, it gets down to -20 on certain nights, you know, not counting wind chill. And I was like, you're not taking this child and putting her in this incredibly dangerous situation. You know, if you want to do this because you made these decisions, be my guest, but you're not doing this. So I pretty much had my daughter. And I had her from when she was about 1. And she lived with me and my parents. I was a single father per se, but I did have the help of my mom and dad from time to time. You know, in fact, I actually helped out quite a bit because of them. I was able to go to school. I was able to, you know, get a job, you know, a better job. You know, I worked at the same job, you know, while I was with this woman for like 4.5 years. But then I moved on to another position, you know. So we were making strides and trying to do better. And at that time, I still had my daughter. You know, I was paying for basically all of medical, all of dental, life insurance, rent, you know, because I paid rent at home. I didn't stay for free. You know, paid for rent, paid for food, paid for daycare, paid for my schooling that I was going to full time. You know, I had all these expenses, all for clothing, all for, you know, diapers and things like that. And I worked out this arrangement with her mother. Where it's like, okay, I tell you what, the only thing I'm asking you to do is pay for daycare. You know, that's all I'm asking you to do. Or not even pay for daycare, but pay for half of it. I'll pay for 2 weeks out of the month. You pay for 2 weeks out of the month. She probably paid out of 3 years, maybe 6 times total. You know, constantly, I don't have the money for this, I don't have the money for that. And I forgave so much debt from her, trying to help her out, trying to give her an opportunity to essentially get back on her feet years later. And at the same time, this woman's still smoking weed, still partying. She was sleeping at dudes' houses on their couches. You know, we all know what that means. I mean, you don't stay for free. There is no such thing. You know, working with her though, and the best that I could. Well, during that time, I met another woman, and you know, we worked together, and you know, we were getting along really well. I had taken another position at a different job where I was making even more money at that point, and we decided to, hey, let's try moving in and see what happens. So we moved in. You know, I had my daughter at this time. She's almost 4 years old. So going on 3 years full time as pretty much a single father. You know, raised her, taught her all of her manners, you know, still continued to pay for everything, and trying to work with her mother. I mean, I never denied her mother the ability to take her on a weekend or anything like that. I always let her, you know, have her time with her daughter. I thought that was very important to do, you know, so I never used it against her or anything like that. It's just, that's just what you do. But I, you know, moved in, and I finally said, you know, this is ridiculous. You know, I'm over here paying for all this stuff and I'm not getting any support for health. And so I filed for custody for my daughter. You know, went down, filed out the paperwork, gathered up all the documents that I needed, all the bank account records, affidavits, everything, just to say, hey, you know, I'm taking care of her, you know, and everyone who knew me and knew my situation knew what was going on, you know, and I just thought, okay, let's make it legal, let's make it official, you know, because I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that there was nothing in place to have her assist with the expense of raising a child, you know. So, you know, plus I wanted to make sure that our times and everything were going to be set in stone, because I actually want to spend time with my daughter, because like I said, I only got her, you know, Monday through Friday. Well, I was working Monday through Friday. I never got to see her essentially on the weekends. When it was my time off, I really wanted to spend time with my daughter. So I filed for custody. I served the papers to her mother on a Sunday, okay? The following week, the first Friday that she got to see her daughter, you know, which was the weekend of Labor Day, I think it was, or is it Memorial Day? Yeah, it was Memorial Day. Anyway, that first weekend, all right, that she got to see her daughter, which was that following Friday, next thing I know, I'm over at a friend's house with my girlfriend at the time, and we were visiting friends, and I get a phone call from the sheriff's department. What? What's going on? They say my daughter was taken in emergency custody protection, and that that was all I knew. You know, they didn't tell me where she was at. They didn't tell me who she was with. They didn't tell me what was going on. Nothing. They just said your daughter is in emergency protection custody, and that you need to call this caseworker for Child Protective Services on Monday, which obviously I did. I mean, I was freaking out, like, what the hell is going on? You know, where's my daughter at? You know, so I call the Child Protective Service, CPS, Monday morning, go down there, make an appointment, go down there as soon as I can. And I get accused that I had beat my daughter with a brush because she apparently had a small finger mark, like triangle mark on her like one of her legs. Now, my daughter at the time was in gymnastics and tumbling, where she was on a high bar. She played a lot. She's kind of a tomboy, still is. And she was at babysitter's full-time when I was at work, and the babysitter had outdoor equipment, outdoor playgrounds. You know, they went outside and played and did all kind of stuff. You know, and of course at this time it was spring, so she would be outside. They accused me of hitting my daughter with a brush, which I have never done in my entire life, ever. And that's what caused the immediate order of protection. Then I found out that that order of protection went immediately to her mother. I showed up at the courthouse to talk to the judge because I had an appointment for the judge to talk to see what was going on. And when I walked into the courthouse, I was completely unprepared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know who to talk to. I thought it was going to be like a formal, you know, questioning from the judge, like, hey, what's going on? You know, answer these questions, and then they would make a decision about what was going on. I showed up at the courthouse, and there is my ex with a state-appointed lawyer. And I go, what the hell is going on? Like, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm the lawyer for the ex. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say her name. I almost did. I'm the lawyer for the ex, and I'm representing her. Oh, and by the way, I'm being paid by the state to do this. So the state is working to actively work with her against me on an allegation that came from the mother that she reported the very first Friday she got to see her daughter after being served custody paperwork. Convenient? I don't know. Just saying. So I'm like, I'm totally unprepared for this. I gotta go hire a lawyer and discuss this and see what's going on. So I went and spent about $5,000 at that point to put down a retaining fee for a lawyer and all the subsequent fees that happened to that. I remember I got all the documents that the lawyer requested me for court, you know, bank statements, medical records, text messages back and forth between her mother and I, Facebook messages between her mother and I, and all these other things. Now keep in mind, this was a family court issue. I was never charged. I was never convicted. I was never like anything legally. This was a family court accusation. No proof, nothing. I go to the court the day that I had the case or the trial or the appointment with the judge. I don't even know what you want to call it. And I had a folder notebook about yay big, about that thick. Had all the documentations that I needed in it. Had, you know, affidavits in it from, like I said, people who knew me, co-workers, babysitter, doctors, things like that. Medical records, finances, everything. And it was about that thick, all right? My lawyer hands it over to the judge. The judge literally takes it, flips it over, just kind of skims through it from the bottom to the top, closes it, slides it over. And then proceeds to ask me questions like, how do you discipline your daughter? What do you do to show discipline for your daughter? Show me what you would do if you spanked her. Because she asked me, do you spank your daughter? I said, if I need to. You know, I'm not going to argue with a 4-year-old or 3-year-old child about go stand in the corner. First of all, she doesn't understand the concept. And second of all, I'm not going to waste, can you make him stop please? Second of all, I'm not going to waste the time trying to argue with a child. You know, if I needed to, which was very rare, but if I needed to, I'd take my daughter and shut up, pop, pop. You know, 2 smacks on the butt, that's all she needed. You know, Didn't use a belt, didn't use a spoon, didn't use a brush, didn't do anything, just used my hands, and I certainly didn't beat the crap out of her or anything like that. And again, I just wanted to get her attention, not abuse her. You know, I was spanked as a child, turned out perfectly fine. My wife was spanked as a child, turned out perfectly fine. Every kid I know was spanked as a child. And guess what? We're not a bunch of little shithead bastards. Anyway, so like I said, it wasn't a criminal case, it was a family court case. But the judge completely ignored anything I said and ignored pretty much anything my lawyer said. She had a predetermined outcome of what she wanted. And what she wanted was to give my ex temporary custody. Now, here's the kicker. That judge was also the same judge that presided over our custody case. Isn't that fair? No, it is not. Because I didn't have a prayer's chance in hell at that point. You know, this same judge already had a bias, and it was very obvious. She asked me questions about my DUIs. She asked me questions about my ex-wife, which had nothing to do with this particular situation, had nothing to do with what was going on, or an accusation of abuse. Had nothing. But when my lawyer asked the ex about her doing cleaning from Craigslist nude, I'll let you guess what that actually is, the judge told her, you don't need to answer that question. Even though it establishes character. She actually goes to go answer the question. The judge tells her again, you don't need to answer that question. Well, why not? My past life had to be fully exposed. Hers, though, completely ignored. My alcohol use was highly questioned. And I understand, I get it, 2 DUIs. I completely understand that. But it had nothing to do with this particular case or this situation. However, when my lawyer asked her about her marijuana usage and the fact that she smoked weed on a regular basis daily, the judge yet again intervened and said, you don't need to answer that. Tell me there's not a bias in the courts against men. Go on, I'm listening. Anyway, I was never convicted of anything. But I got punished as though I did. I had no more time access to my daughter. In fact, I had to have supervised visitations with my daughter, which thankfully my mom was there. You know, she could be the one to supervise. But my visitation with my daughter was every Saturday or every other Saturday for 4 hours. I used to have her full time. It then went to 4 hours. And I had to stay that way until I completed a alcohol analysis, complete a rehabilitation for alcohol, even though it had nothing to do, but it was at the behest of the mother. I had to go to anger management and family counseling. Thankfully, I found a family counselor who said that, hey, we'll come in and do an evaluation on you, and then we'll do a couple visits